Hey there, guys. It's your boy Donnelly Miller coming back at you, and this is it. This is my final night here at my current apartment complex. However, it is not going to be my last night in Bellingham. And so I'm probably gonna make a longer video in the future sometime. Just kind of like what the last 10 years have been like. But I figure I'm gonna mix in doing some of my favorite kind of programming, although it's not really considered programming by some. But regardless, SQL, structured query language, I'm going to be kind of doing a little bit of blogging and doing what I would like to refer to as category 5 level SQL. Okay, so what do I mean by category 5? Okay, first things first. Like I mentioned, this is my last night here at my current complex, and it's actually, not that bad of a complex, really. I mean, great location, easy access to the interstate, walking distance from Fred Meyer, and if you're a student, you're like less than like 2 miles from campus. And there's a variety of people, various age groups that live in this particular complex and so forth. But right now, it's kind of like a ghost town because everyone's moving out. I guess everyone's leases are up, come tomorrow, and so it's going to be like a ghost complex. But that's kind of nice. But come September 17th, 18th, when the new batch of tenants come in, yeah, it could be a little chaotic. But it's been 2 years since I've been at this complex, and I made the best out of it. It's a great area. Just hop on the bike, get in a good 20, 30 mile bike ride, don't have to drive anywhere. So, like anything else in life, there are its pros and cons. Okay, so now to mix in some SQL. Oh, yeah, you're wondering, what did I mean by category 5? Well, obviously, if you guys have been following me for a while, you know I like cycling. And way back in the day, I used to do cycle racing. And when you first start off, at least if you do it and here in good old, the United States, well, you start off as a category 5 racer. That's like the beginner level. And you can either move up by completing a certain number of races or getting points by placing like in the top 10 or top 5. Then you move on up to category 4, which is like beginner, intermediate, and then category 3 is a solid intermediate. And then once you get to category 2, that's when you start doing some really difficult races and even some races where you could be potentially racing with some domestic pros. And by the time you get to category 1, yeah, you're pretty much racing with the big boys. So yeah, if I were to start cycling again, racing, I would have to start off as a category 5. I'd be definitely a squirrel out there on the bike, especially in a pack. Kind of like, oh my gosh, I can be all nervous and like. But yeah, I guess that's you start off from somewhere, and they always say like as a Category 5 racer, you got to be comfortable, kind of, riding amongst others that are really squirrely. But I'm going to be squirrely myself, so here it is, guys. Beginner SQL Category 5 level. So the first thing I'm going to show you is what's really cool is I'm using live SQL from Oracle. Don't have to download anything, no software installation needed. And so I'm going to start off by doing just something really funny here. And I'm going to do what's called selecting from a dummy table. And what you do is it's called, and I'm going to do sysdate. Let's find out, we all know what today's date is, right? Well, let's say for some reason you just completely forgot what today's date is. Well, you can do what's called select sysdate from dual. Yes, dual. And I don't know how many of you guys have seen the movie called The Duel. It's about a driver that gets like stalked by this truck driver. And so ever since watching that movie, every time I see a truck or a semi truck or a tandem, I'm like thinking, last duel. You don't want to make those guys angry at you, or you don't want to do anything foolish because you don't want to be getting in a duel with a trucker because it could be your last duel. And there's a video game called Last Duel. So I kind of put the two together. And so here we got select sysdate from duel. And let's see what it comes up with. All right, it is the 31st of August, 22nd. Now, the reason why that is probably where this database is actually located. It's probably already August 31st. So this is a cloud-based system. So wherever I'm accessing this database, it's probably in some other location where it's already the 31st of August. Where I'm at right now, it's still the 30th. But what's really cool is you can do certain things here. You can do like select 3 plus 7 from dual. Yeah, last dual. All right, and that's 10. Okay, now it's time to up the ante. So before I get to my next query, well, I guess the last 10 years I've probably been an adventure per se. I came up to Bellingham 2012. Yeah, I was going to Western Washington University. I was kind of deciding on computer science or exercise science because I figured during my time in the Navy, I was like an assistant command fitness leader. So I figured maybe I have a chance at making some big bucks in the exercise science field. And of course, that never really panned out. I probably should have stuck with my gut instinct and have stayed with computer science, even though the math did kind of scare me a little bit. But if I had played my cards right, I would have probably gone to community college first, done my math there, and then I would have been fine. My last 2 years at Western. But it is what it is. We all make mistakes. You can't like dwell on the past. You can't whine about it. You just gotta like, okay, own up to your mistakes. Be like, okay, yeah, I chose a degree that wasn't exactly the most fruitful. Okay, reassess. Okay, think. Okay, what are my resources? Utilize my resources, and here I am, about 3.5 weeks away from starting my second year of my software development degree program, and this could be the year where I could finally be finding myself in a full-time job in my desired career field by the end of next spring. Okay, next query now. So the table I'm going to be working with is a table called the employees table. And I make sure I don't do any spelling errors here. Okay, so this is a table I'm going to be working with, and I'm going to do, I don't know, 2 or 3 queries during this blog. And I'm going to mix in a little bit of tutorialness, an example of what they might even do on a technical interview, because yes, if you're interviewing for any data analytics job or software development, they're going to ask you questions about software, like programming, SQL. So a really common sample question that they might ask you is, what is the difference between the where clause and the having clause? And I'm going to get to that in a little bit. But before that, you can see here I'm working with this table, the HR table, and here you've got these different columns here. Each of them have a specific data type, and then rows. And there's like around 239 rows, I believe, in this table. Actually, let's find out. I'm still just guessing. Let's find out how many rows are in this table. So I'm just going to select count. I'm going to use this. Make sure I type. There we go. Count from HR. And we're going to find out just how many rows. 107 rows. So not that many. Not many at all. Okay, so let me go ahead and just select everything again. Okay. Okay, so first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to be demonstrating both the where and the having clause. So I'm going to kind of break it down, step by step. So the where clause is basically like filtering what rows are returned. It's a way to like filter the data that you're trying to retrieve. So for instance, there's 107 rows in this table, but let's say I don't want to retrieve all 107 rows. I might do something like, let's see, I want to retrieve only those rows where the department ID is 90, 60, or 100. Okay, so that's where the where clause comes in. So I'm just simply going to be filtering rows. And so that's the where clause. So what I do here is I'm just going to leave this the same, but now I'm going to add a where clause here, where department ID, and there's different ways you can do this, but I'm going to do the short way, where department ID in, and then I'm going to put, I said 60, 90, and 100. And see how many rows I got returned. So looks like there are only 14 rows that were selected. So I went down from 107 down to 14 rows. So that's an example of how you can use the where clause. Okay, now the having clause. Now that is used to filter groupings. So the where clause filters rows, the having clause filters groupings. That's the main difference, and that would be an example interview question. And I think that's like one of the more popular ones. I'm not, I mean, don't quote me on that, but I think I've read that is one of the most popular SQL coding questions they might ask us. What's the difference between the where clause and the having clause? Okay, so now that I showed you that, so let's say, okay, you notice here we've got a salary column here. So let's find out what is the average salary of all these employees in this table. Now, well, that's pretty straightforward. I'm just going to come back here and I'm just going to select average salary from, and I'll try not to speak every time I'm typing out the query. Okay, so it's kind of hard to read, but okay, I'll just round up. It's $6,462. That's the average salary. Okay, so we got that out of the way. Okay, so like I was kind of going back, in time. Okay, so spent from 2012 to 2015 pursuing exercise science. See, I took a bunch of anatomy classes, functional anatomy, physiology, even like a few classes on like training, how to train, group classes, biomechanics. And then, of course, I applied for one job after I got done with my undergraduate degree. It was to be a fitness director at a local gym here in Bellingham and didn't get hired for it. So then I went on to get my master's in exercise science. And well, the story kind of unfolds after 2017. It's been pretty much a struggle finding any kind of decent work. I mean, per se, to be able to pay off my student loan debt, but no use in whining about that either because, I mean, that's for another time. That's for another topic. But really, what I'm excited about is this second year of my software development degree because I've been reading up on this program, and yes, it's like a career launch based program. I mean, like the program has been like tailored to actually like prepare students to enter the workforce like right after this program. So it's like you have to, in order for the program to be career launch focused, it's got to like pass like certain criteria and so forth, and it's got to like partner with businesses. So basically, local and regional companies are partnering with the community college to provide paid interns to students. And so I think that's where I read about like this 70% chance of getting hired on with a full-time offer if you're getting a paid internship. So really, I've got to have my head on straight for this second year. And so I've just got to get in the swing of things. And I'm just going to kind of kick things off on my final night here at this complex for some SQL. So next query now. So now I showed you average. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select everything again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an aggregate function, the average function here. So I'm going to select, but let's go ahead and select everything so you can see what I'm getting at here from. Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is I want to find out what is the average salary per department ID. And you're probably wondering, what is this department ID? Well, in another table, they've actually got the name of the department. And that's going to be for a future video where I'm going to have to be doing what's called a join. Yes, joining 2 or 3 tables to actually print out the name of the actual department. And so that's probably a category 4 query. Yeah, I wouldn't say that's a 5. I'd say that's like a solid category 4 level when you combine a join, a grouping, a where, and an order by. So it's solid category 4. But yeah, I just want to keep it category 5 level, guys. Nice and easy. So by the time I get done with this complete query, solid category 5. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to find out what the average what the average salary is for each of the departments. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. So I'm just going to go select. Okay, now try not to speak as I'm typing. Ah, it's not letting me do that. Oops, wrong. Let's try this. There we go. Okay, so what I did here is I ordered it, and then what I'm gonna do here is to make this more readable. I want to make sure I put the actual column here so it makes more sense. Okay, there we go. So it looks like we don't have a name for this department up here that's got the highest. But let's see, order. Oh, I got to make sure I order by. Let's see. No, I got this. Oops. I'm just gonna type it out. I'm just gonna do order by. Let's try that. Let's see. I want to make it so nice. There we go. Ah, it's more like it. Okay, so it looks like department ID of 90 has the highest average salary at 19,000, and then the next highest is 110. Okay, so that's the group by function. Now let's say I'm only concerned with departments that have, let's say, an average salary greater than 8,000. That's where the having clause comes into play. Yep, exactly right. That's exactly what I'm going to be doing next. So what I do now is I just go ahead and put a space here, having, and I'm going to say, okay, I could do, make sure I'm doing this correctly. And if I do this, and it's been a little bit, since I've done some SQL, because of my internship didn't involve any SQL, nothing at all. So it's been just a little, it's been a one hot minute since I've done any. Okay, so let's try this. Okay, let's try this. Greater, having salary greater than, that's right. Yes, it's definitely been one hot minute since I've done some SQL. Cool. Yep. All right. So that worked out good. So pretty much what that does is, like, although there are other departments that had average salaries less than 8,000, those are not going to show because of adding the having clause in there. Now, let's say I was only concerned with departments that were more than above 70. So, for instance, I'm only concerned with departments that are above 70, but also have an average salary above 8,000. Now I have to throw in a where clause. So this is where the order matters too. The where is going to come before the group by. So where, let's see, I'm going to say department ID, and I'm going to say greater than, it's got to be greater than 70. And if this works, you see these two rows here, those should not be in the results. So if I did do this right, let's see what happens. Yes. And there you have it, guys. That is what I would call a decent category 5 query. It's a beginner query. Probably could learn this in 1 hour. Probably, like, some of you guys out there could probably learn this in like 15-20 minutes. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. But if it's been a hot minute since you've done it, yeah, you kind of just gotta think a little bit. But yeah, this is a solid category 5. And then what I can do is I can clean this up a little bit. So average salary, I mean, yeah, people might understand what that is, but I like to kind of just clean it up a little bit. So I'm going to use what's called an alias. All right, and then let's see if I run this again. And it just makes it more readable. So there you have it. I use a select, the where, the group by, having, and an order by. And then, of course, I guess if I wanted to get really, but that's kind of, I was going to use like the fetch first 3 rows or something. But no, this is good enough. So here, what I did is, yeah, so select, where comes before the group by, then the having, then the order by. So there you have it, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this blogging video. And before I leave, so now that I've demonstrated a nice solid category 5 level query, See what else has been going on. Yeah, so like I mentioned, I'm not leaving Bellingham. I do plan on visiting my family for a few weeks, sometime probably in October, but I just figured being so close to Fayetteville, Fort Bragg, I have lived in that area before back in 2002, and I lived in a town called Rayford, North Carolina, in the summer of 2002, right next to a chicken plant, and woke up every morning to the smell of fresh, raw chicken. And although I wouldn't be staying near that town, there's really not much to do there. So when the studying gets tough and I'm under a lot of stress and I need to be able to unwind and go for like a quick cycling ride or a quick jaunt into the mountains, well, at least I'm only going to be like 15 to 40 minutes away. In North Carolina, where my family is at, I would be having to drive at least an hour and a half, if not more. And it's like a 30 to 40-minute drive just to the gym. So, yeah, I mean, you got to kind of weigh your pros and cons. And it's like I figured the pros of staying here versus going east far outweighed the cons. So yeah, that's that's what life is all about. It's like just weighing the pros versus the cons and be like, hey, you got to realize that many of us don't have it as bad as we think. We don't have it as bad as we say we do have it. So you just got to be thankful, show gratitude for what you do have, and aside from that, yeah, this is my last night, so I'm enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to fall quarter and having fun with some SQL on my last night here. And yeah, in a way, I think I'm gonna kind of miss this place a little bit, but oh well, that's got to move on eventually. But I think that's all for now. Thank you all for watching, and I'll be back at you guys once again. This has been Donnelly Miller coming at you with some blogging and some Category 5 level SQL. All right, everyone. Peace.